I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 2nd, 2015 meeting of the school board. Anybody wishing to speak during our hearing of citizens portion, if you'd fill out a card at the back of the room and bring them up to Zoe Marshall, and you have an opportunity to speak at that time. If you'd please stand now for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one special presentation this evening. I'll ask Kelly Ellington to come up and begin the presentation, or whoever is going to do that. How about Sid Quinn?
Good evening, everyone. For all the school board members, just when you thought you were done with graduations, guess what? We have one more. Good evening to Superintendent White and board members. I'm Sidell Quinn, and I have Toby Klein joining me tonight. We are co-facilitators for the Leadership Academy. And as I think most of you know, Wendy Katz is the lead for this program and is currently having treatment in Boston. And if you've not heard, the great news is she was released from the hospital today. Yay, yay. It gives us great pleasure tonight to introduce and congratulate our Leadership Academy Fellows, Cohort 6. This group has completed a 2-year comprehensive program to help prepare them as future leaders in our district. I'm going to ask 2 of our fellows to share a couple of highlights from our academy. So I'll ask Rosemary Schmidt to join me, please.
Good evening, everybody. When asked to speak about my learning experiences with the Leadership Academy, I thought, I have so many, where do I begin? I thought about the journey from beginning until now and what important views I could share about my leadership philosophy that I developed in my experiences in the Leadership Academy. To begin, fun. As a leader, you need to set a good collaborative team. It's my personal belief that individuals who enjoy what they are doing will be far more productive than those who dread going to work. As a leader, you need to be examples of making the workplace an enjoyable place. You must also balance work and personal success. Accountable. As a leader, you need to hold your personnel accountable as well as being held accountable. When we hold each other accountable for our actions and our decisions, we can focus on our behaviors, our educational goals, and not personality traits. Respectful. This is another principle that needs to work both ways. As a leader, your personnel needs to feel respected and understand that their opinions matter. Good ideas will generally come from all, and all will participate. It is important to have a climate of respect within your staff. Reflection. Take time as a leader to reflect your leadership decisions and how those decisions impact others. Mentor. Mentorship of junior personnel is key to developing strong, effective leaders of our future. I have the opportunity to work with great leaders who took time out of their day to mentor me on various subjects and also correct me when I was wrong. Being an effective mentor is more than just sitting down once or twice a year for yearly reviews. It is having a trust for someone to talk to about issues and concerns whenever they arise, and having a true open door policy. This leadership philosophy will carry me through and instill success in my leadership endeavors. Thank you very much.
And now I'll ask Scott Parrish to please share his reflections.
All right. Hello. Scott Parrish. I currently teach 3rd grade at Tuttle Elementary. When I was asked to speak tonight, I thought the best way for me to go about it was just to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to the leadership of Sarasota County, and thank you to Toby and Sid for the opportunities that they have given us in this Leadership Academy. We've had the opportunity to meet once a month to discuss with like-minded people the issues that are facing the schools, possible solutions, and we've been able to share ideas that we can then go back to our school and implement. I'd like to thank you guys for the experiences that we've had. We've had nothing to prepare you for an interview, quite like the mock interview process that you go through in the Leadership Academy. And then to one-up it, like Sid always wants to one-up everything, they videotape you. So then you sit down and you go through the videotape and you really see, your areas of weakness, and you can study those. So when you're called upon to interview, you'll be ready. And the experiences of the shadowing opportunities. 4 times we got to go to different schools and see what other leadership teams were doing. And then we were able to bring ideas back to our school. So it's just a great collaboration piece here in Sarasota County. And I would say, finally, the most important thing is thank you for the relationships. We've built some great relationships through this Leadership Academy. These relationships that we've built are the relationships that we are going to lean on as we continue to grow in our leadership journey. So what I wanted to say tonight is to the members of the school board and to Mrs. White here, you're looking at the future leaders of Sarasota County. We're going to use what we have learned in the Leadership Academy to ensure that Sarasota remains the top district in the state of Florida. So thank you.
I'll ask Toby to join me, and at this time I'll call up each member of the cohort to receive an official certificate, and then I'll ask the audience to please hold your applause. And I've asked our group just to line up in front, and then we'll congratulate them at the end. Okay, so let's begin. Amy Baldwin from Gosho Elementary. Erica Brusso from Southside. Rich Clay from McIntosh Middle. Mike Endy from Northport High. Sharika Evans from Booker Middle. Nathan Figueroa from Taylor Ranch. Jamie Hannon from Philippi Shores. Stella Karras from Sarasota High. Jay Lorenz from Riverview High. Sandra Mazzarantani from Gulfgate Elementary. Holly Heim from Garden Elementary. I told them in an email if I missed their name, just go with it. Mindell Miller from Booker High. Makaya Moran from Emma E. Booker. Lori Moyer from Pineview. Cameron Parker from IT at the Landings. Just go with it. Scott Parrish from Tuttle. Erin Rice Smith from Heron Creek. Kate Rogers Giffrey from Northport High. Rosemary Schmidt from Booker High. Jim Steiner from Heron Creek. Tammy Taylor from Lakeview Elementary. Andrea Terabasi, Pineview. Christina Tweed, Laurel Nokomis. Kizron Usman from Lakeview. Mark Wade from Riverview. Tanisha Williams from Emma E. Booker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present the 2015 Leadership Academy Cohort 6. Congratulations. Thank you.
Ms. Goodwin?
I would just like to say a couple things before you all leave. best of luck to you. I know how hard the journey is and how difficult it is to find time for leadership and other things because we're all so busy in our schools. But I equate being on staff and being an administrator of a school, be it assistant principal, as being one of the most difficult jobs in the world. I equate it to running a city because you have so many moving parts. And so thank you for stepping up. Thank you for being interested in leadership. We've got a great leader, Mrs. White. We've got a great leader to our back desks, sort of hidden there. Our executive director, Steve, of high schools, who does a fabulous job. And all of our executive directors do a great job working with the leadership staff in every school. But thank you so much for stepping forward because this is so important because I think, and you hear all of the news coming out of Tallahassee or anything else, the key leadership position in our school district is with principals, assistant principals, and the leaders in the schools. And thank you so much for stepping forward. Look forward to seeing you move forward in your careers and in your journey. Best of luck.
Mrs. Zucker.
Hi. I just wanted to thank you also. You can't get out of here that quickly. You're lucky we didn't have you come up and shake hands with us. But I want to thank you also for committing yourself to our district and for putting yourself out there to become leaders so that you will be able to and ready to take over the next positions as they come available. And we know that a lot of people are retiring these days, and we're so glad that you all are stepping up and stepping forward to begin the process of leading this district, to continue the great district that we have. Thank you so much for it. Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to hearing of citizens. I have one card. When I call your name, if you come up to that podium, please, you'll have 3 minutes. The light will turn green when you start. It'll turn yellow with 1 minute left, and when it goes red, you're out of time. Robert Levine.
Is the light on? The light.
Okay. Thank you. I agree that the running of these schools and the principals have a very challenging job, and they're doing so well, managing so many facets of the schools. And that's why I'm here, is that I think that they also need your help. The teachers and administrators and the principals need your help to take the lead and to do the great job that you did with bullying, which you've done an amazing job decreasing the bullying in the schools, but take that job to the issue of academic dishonesty that's occurring in the schools. I think it's too much for any one principal or one school to manage the pervasive methods and the pervasive academic dishonesty occurring in tests, quizzes, homework in our schools. And it's been, from what I understand, been brought to the attention to principals and some of the school board or some of the workers at the school board recently. And I just can't imagine how they're going to handle such a challenging problem. But I think we need your help to do the great job that you did with bullying, to take that here to the issue of academic dishonesty, which probably is not going to be solved in 1 year, but we need your help because it's just gotten too far. It's getting too pervasive. It's not just good for the students who need to learn, need to be educated, need to do the great job that they potentially can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. If I could have a motion, please.
I move.
approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If you would vote, please. And the consent agenda passes 5-0. If I could have a motion, please, on item 47.
That the School Board of Sarasota County approve the new job description for Supervisor Pupil Support Services and Athletics.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. If you would vote, please. Passes 5-0. If I could have a motion on item 48, please.
I move for approval of the new job description as presented for FDLRS Florida Inclusive Network Facilitator.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? If you would vote, please. And that passes 5-0. If I could get a motion on item 49, then I believe Mr. Lempe is going to give a brief presentation on that. Item 49, please.
Move the approval of the interlocal agreement between the City of Northport and the School Board of Sarasota for a conference center as part of the SCT, the Suncoast Technical College Northport campus.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Lempe.
Thank you very much, Board Member Superintendent. If I could just take 2 minutes of your time, I guess, to tell you what that is. What's in front of you on this motion is an interlocal agreement between the School Board of Sarasota County and the City of Northport to primarily pay for and operate a conference center as part of the Suncoast Technical College footprint in the City of Northport. And just kind of a reminder of how we got here, roll the clock back to January of this year when we had our convocation. Really, for the second time, we talked about the wisdom of a Suncoast Technical College presence in Northport. We talked a lot about the wisdom of a joint-use media center library as part of that campus. And I think for the second year in a row had really unanimous support of such an endeavor in the City of Northport. You remember that the one thing that we did talk about a little bit, and it was mostly the elected officials from the City of Northport, is they talked about the fact that they don't have a conference center in Northport and asked us if we would consider partnering with them on this campus to put such a presence in Northport. So we kind of philosophically agreed with that. The mayor invited us down to talk with the commission a little bit about what that might look like. So we did go down and we talked to them a little bit about what could happen. It was a very fruitful conversation. We said, yes, philosophically, we believe that there is the opportunity to partner with the city on a conference center with 2 or 3 things going in as knowns. Number one is let's be clear on what conference center means. Number 2, let's make sure that if we do this at the margins, it doesn't cost the school board any more money. So if the price of the project goes up because of the conference center footprint, it's on the City of Northport. Number 3, that it doesn't delay our project because we're on it, especially if you ask Dr. Bowden, we're on a pretty tight timeline. And 4, that ultimately we can come to some sort of an agreement on how we use it. So those were kind of our caveats as we talked with the City of Northport. We then came back to the board and talked with you, as you recall, in a workshop as part of our capital conversations about how do you feel about that conceptually. But most of our conversation was about the wisdom of pulling our culinary arts program from Phase 2 to the left a couple of years and put it in Phase 1. And we advocated that for a couple of reasons. One is the footprint that is the dining room at the Culinary Arts Center could eventually become part of that conference center, much like the campus on Beneva and Proctor. And second, if we cite this right, we can put the Culinary Arts program right next to the conference center, and therefore the program can support activities in the conference center. So you, the board, were supportive of that. We amended our budget for the project to include pulling the Culinary Arts program to the left. We then sat down with the Northport staff and we worked through the agreement that you see in front of you today, which really does 2 things. First and foremost, it lays out both the specific dollar amounts and the timelines to pay for the conference center, and then it lays out the framework for us to talk about what the joint use agreement might look like. So that's kind of what the agreement is. I have the bad news is I have a PowerPoint presentation. The good news is it's only 2 slides long. So just take a second, but I wanted to talk just a little bit so you can see where this would fit in. And I have a paper copy of this in front of you because I know it's a bit of an eye test, but what you see here is essentially the floor plan for the first floor of the Suncoast Technical College in Northport. What's all the way on the right side of the screen is essentially the library. What's all the way on the left side of the screen is essentially Suncoast Technical College, and then right in the middle, and I'm going to zero in on this in a second so you can see it better, but right in the middle is the gallery and the conference center. So I'm going to zero in right on the center of this campus. And the slide that's up here now and the second in your handout, the dotted area is essentially the culinary arts program. But you can see, and the reason I wanted you to see this is because our architect has cited this in kind of a neat place. If you come in through that main gallery, notice that the first thing that you see is the bistro. So that is about a 1,700 square foot footprint that is the dining room for the culinary arts program, but also doubles as part of that conference center. The part of this that we've asked the city of Northport to help pay for is essentially that 2,500 square foot box that is to the left of the bistro. So you come into a main gallery, you go to the right, you go to the library, go to the left, you go to Suncoast Technical College, and right in front of you is the bistro and the conference center. So this is all evolving, but you can kind of see where it fits, how big it is, and then back to the first page, sort of where it fits on the campus. So this is the attachment to your to the agenda item that you're voting on tonight, just so both you and the Northport Commission understand exactly what we're doing and where. And with that, I would entertain any questions you may have.
Mrs. Brown?
I don't know if this is final documents or anything, but, I saw right there in the middle there's a bathroom, men's and women's, and I'm not sure if that's for the bistro, for the school, or for the library, but, and it is little, I can't see. It looks like that seems to be the only bathroom, but I'm sure you have bathrooms for the school and for the library. They might just not show on here.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And if you notice, those bathrooms even are accessible. You have to go kind of around to the right into a little alcove to the bathroom. So that's not what you see when you come in the main gallery.
Looks like it's set up quite a bit like the bistro and the conference center and the bathrooms and stuff at the Proctor Road campus.
Yes, and deliberately. One of the first questions we talked with the commission about is, what do you mean by conference center? Do you mean a place where 15 people can get together? Do you mean Robards Arena? Or do you mean something in the middle? And effectively what all of them said is, we want exactly what you have at the North County campus. So same architect designed them, so we just asked Ken Dean from Schickel Schultz duplicate that model. So that's why it looks awful much the same.
Mrs. Zucker?
Just help me, Scott, for a minute. Is the library past a solid line on the right? Is that the library?
Are you looking at page 1 or page 2?
2.
If you go back to the previous page, and I'm going to roll.
I see it over
this
there.
back.
I see it there.
No, it's right
So if you come in right the center, that's the gallery, and everything to the right, what's shaded in kind of yellow and blue, all of that is library.
Okay.
So if you then go to page 2, I've zoomed kind of right into the center of that, so most of the library is off the slide on your right.
That's why I can't find it.
Yeah, it's most of it's not there. I just wanted you to see kind of where the conference center would fit on the campus.
Thank you.
Ms. Goodwin?
Just a quick question. We have the new Gulf Gate Library, and I went to the opening, and it's grand and wonderful. Yes. So I'm seeing a few things that look similar on this plan to that library.
Yes.
How large is this in comparison, say, to Gulf Gate?
Smaller. This is about 20,000 square feet.
Okay.
Marginally smaller.
Ms. Ziegler?
And I'm sorry if I missed this. I know that the campus is smaller than the Proctor Road campus overall.
Dramatically.
Is the conference room significantly smaller than the conference room at Proctor Road? Or?
No, it is almost to the square foot exactly the same size.
Okay, great.
The campus is, and don't hold me to the number, but probably a fifth of the size of the one at Proctor and Beneva, but the conference center itself is almost identical if you include the bistro, the dining room, and the kitchen.
Thank you, Scott.
You bet.
Any further discussion? If you'd vote on item 49, please. That passes 5-0. If I could have a motion on item 50, please.
I would move that the cooperative agreement between the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida, and SRQ LAX, Inc. to provide Riverview High School students athletics the opportunity to participate in lacrosse from August 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2018 be approved as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Ms. Goodwin?
Well, I just want to say that I am definitely in favor of this and will be voting. So I have friends who have worked very hard on this issue for a number of years, and I don't know that much about lacrosse, but when I see it on television, I'm a great athletic fan, so it's only a matter of time. But when I see lacrosse, it looks really interesting to me, and the thing I like so much about it is it's something that equally is played by women as well as men. So I am very excited about this, and hope that this is the first school of many.
Ms. Zucker?
Yes, my grandson plays lacrosse, so I understand it, and I watched him play it, and he loves to swing his club and club other people. So, but he's a youngster. He's not even a teenager yet. But I would like a little discussion regarding this lacrosse program. I'd like to know if it's just at one school, how it's being funded, if it's both, it's co-ed. I'd just like to know a little bit more.
I'm going to ask Mr. Cantis, Executive Director of Secondary Schools, to respond. He's really taken the lead in working with this organization to arrive at this agreement.
I would not have made the motion had I not been in favor of it. So you should know that before we begin the discussion.
Okay. So we do have some representatives from the SRQ LAX. We have the president of the organization, Rachel Hadamaki, and we have their parent and community coordinator, Russell Clark is here. And just to take you back a little bit, we've been working on this for 3 or 4 years now. Different organizations in the community have had some interest in the schools having lacrosse and participating in FHSA organized and sanctioned lacrosse. So most recently, over the last several months, SRQ LAX came to make a proposal to us, and we've been working very closely with them in partnership and to organize a team in Sarasota County. That team is going to be at Riverview High School. We will have a boys and a girls team, approximately 30 players on each. We're going to start out with just varsity players, varsity teams. We will not have JV teams at the beginning of this. And to the credit of the organization, they have never asked the school district to put in 1 cent for the program. And so that made it very attractive to us, to say the least. But the SRQ LAX has agreed to pay all expenses. As you can see from the agreement, any expenses that may occur because of the participation in lacrosse at Riverview High School, any participation, any costs will be covered by SRQ LAX. So it's a good agreement for us. It's exciting to have the opportunity to start the lacrosse program in Sarasota County. It's an up-and-coming sport. They will say, I think, the fastest-growing sport in the U.S., and so we're excited to get started. We have students in this community student athletes that participate in club, and it is a large organization. Their club organization is a large organization, and so it's great that we're going to be able to provide this opportunity to those students.
Mrs. Ziegler?
Yes, I wanted to follow up. I asked this to be brought forward because I've already received a letter from an email from Sarasota High School, for parents of Sarasota High School. So I wanted it to be clear that the district is not supporting this, that this is self-supporting, self-sustaining. Yep. So because I don't want it to get out there that the district is starting this team at Riverview, and then the anticipation will be that we will also have one at Sarasota High.
Well, and I think it's wise for us to, any new endeavor like this, you want to start out small. There's a lot of issues that have to be addressed, everything from the equipment, the officials, the field use on a campus that's already maybe the fields are being used extensively. And so I think it's a great idea, and I think the organization agrees too, that we work on a pilot first. Let's work out any of the issues that may occur over the next 2 to 3 years, And certainly, as we've already discussed, if the need is there, if we see a need there at another school, and if the funding is there from the community to support that school's program, we would obviously be we would be in favor of that also.
Do you have anything for Steve?
No questions for Steve. I just wanted to say thank you because I have heard back that you've been incredibly helpful and instrumental in this process. I am very excited also for this. My husband started helped sanction his high school up in Atlanta, and it's now, and that was a long time ago, but it's incredibly successful, so I'm very excited to see that come to Sarasota. I know there are a ton of families and students very, very supportive, so thank you for everything you did to work with the family and the club to get this up.
You're welcome.
And Steve, the only question I had is, could you give us all the rules and regulations of how lacrosse is played, please?
I could. Actually, I couldn't. I hate to admit it. I probably couldn't, but I'll be watching the games and learning as we go along too. But it looks exciting. I'm like Jane, Mrs. Goodwin, that when you watch it on TV, it looks like a lot of fun.
Well, nothing else. Maybe we get the superintendent or Mr. Lumpy to explain the rules to us. Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If you would vote, please. And that passes 5-0. Our next monthly work session is June the 16th from 10 to 3 or somewhere around there. And our next school board meeting is June the 16th at 3 p.m. Any announcements or communications? We're adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Ziegler.
Sorry. I had two things I wanted to bring up. One was something that was actually on the agenda today, and I had spoken to Lori about it, or excuse me, Superintendent White. It was item 43, which was our renewal of our workers' compensation. I support, obviously, because I voted for it, what the recommendation was this time, but I know that there was an alternative recommendation proposed. I would ask that, I think it's a unique proposal, and but I'm curious to learn more about it, and I wanted to see, I don't agree with rushing it, but see if it's something we could have a workshop in the future for next year's renewal to see what other municipalities are doing, the pros and cons. I think it's definitely not the most conservative. I think you also looked over it, and I believe, especially as it goes with risk management and asset protection, we want to be conservative. But if there is an opportunity to review it and see if it is something we should look at in the future, maybe in the next coming months, we could have a workshop on that and have staff look into it further. And then there was another item I wanted to discuss. I know we briefly discussed this in a past workshop, but I've had a lot of people come up to me recently specifically about this, and that's moving the referendum to a general election. I personally support moving it. I think it potentially can save the district, $33,000. Increase voter participation. I think it's very important to the district. That money is very important to the district, and 2016 will be here sooner than we know it. I wanted to see if we can move that up to a sooner workshop to discuss it, because I think for all parties involved, it's in the better interest if the majority of the board does move to approve it to be in a general election, that we get that decision done sooner than later.
I would suggest that go ahead and as all board members can put something on a workshop agenda, I would suggest go ahead and put it on an agenda so it could be discussed.
But as far as for staff to do any as staff, are we looking to them to do any? We discussed it in a PM agenda, so I wanted to see if we can move that up forward in a main workshop to discuss.
You want me to take it? Normally, we don't bring anything forward unless we have at least 3 votes to bring it forward, to have a workshop on it.
Okay.
I think we discussed this briefly when we were talking about the superintendent's contract, and we thought we were going to talk about it further in September at a workshop.
Right. That's actually what I was referencing, seeing if we could move it up sooner to discuss it prior to September. I don't see the
Well, the next election isn't until November of 2016, so I think September of 2015 is plenty of time.
If that's what the rest of the board does, I just spoke with Supervisor of Elections. I know they're working already on 2016. I know there's a lot going on, so I just see it as a benefit to not delay the discussion.
Is there a local referendum of a local issue on the 2016 ballot relative to fire stations, sheriff's office, anything that's local that you know or anyone knows of that would be coming up that would be a local referendum for 2016?
I think, and I'm not positive about this, I think the county commission may be doing something.
Well, I thought it was the sheriff's department.
Is it? Okay.
But I'm not sure, so I'm a little gray on that, but I will find out. But that was one issue that I had. You know, I think it's worked well for us. I know that there's that area of folks out there. I'm not at all sure that those people are going to be for us. I think sometimes the November 2016 is just another ploy to try to get the referendum defeated. It'll be the very tail end of a ballot with some undervotes on that particular section. So for me, I'm against it. I'm totally against it. It's worked well for us. It cost around $400,000 last time to do a special election, and we won by 77%. So is that a good return on the investment when you're getting $160 million plus over 4 years to spend that kind of money? And get our message out as the only thing to discuss with the residents of the county has always been what we have done. And we don't have to continue to do this the same way we have done it in the past. But that's one of the considerations that I always have is in keeping it the way it is, we've done very, very well.
And I agree with and knowing how the approval of the 77%. I think when you talk to people who actually do support the referendum but would like to see it done on the general election because they believe it's going to have a larger voter participation, so it would be a more realistic response to what the community would want. But I didn't, and if we want to discuss it now, we can, certainly. But I think, in fairness to the other board members, I just want to see it done a little sooner than later, because I do believe, as we discuss the pros and cons of it, because I do think that money is incredibly important to the district, if it is something that we decide to move to 2016, that for all parties involved, it benefits them to have more time to ramp up, get prepared. Also, supervisor elections. I believe the county commission is involved when changing and adding the referendum to the ballot. Is that correct?
They have to give us approval
Right.
after we have voted on and sent the resolution over to
Right.
them.
So that was merely what I was hoping to see if we could just move it to a earlier workshop.
Anything further? We're adjourned.